Hello and welcome to another episode of SMEFocus, brought to you by FactoryNOW TV. I'm your host, Chris Greenough, and in this series we will focus on SMEs within the British manufacturing sector. Every week we will discuss and analyse the opportunities and challenges facing the industry in these unprecedented times. I've worked in the sector for over 26 years and I am CCO at SDE Technology, one of the leading manufacturers of pressings and manufacturing in the UK. As you can hopefully appreciate, this show is very much for manufacturers by manufacturers. My guest today is Graham Yeomans, Director at Yeoman Pressings. Graham, good afternoon, how are you?
Good afternoon, Chris. Yes, I'm very well, thank you very much.
Good to see you. England now back in lockdown, so more of these virtual meetings than ever, I guess. So, Graham,
Absolutely.
tell me about Yeoman Pressings and what is it you do?
Okay, well, Yeoman Pressings was originally started back in 1963 by my grandfather, and he built the company up to be a substantial presswork company until he sold it in its entirety in 1993. Basically in 2017, myself and my wife, we bought Yeoman Pressings outright. And for the last 3 years, we have been going through quite a challenge, obviously getting the company settled down, losing one or two orders for some customers, but gaining new customers along the way as well. And of course, in the last 6 months, it's been even more challenging still. So we've had quite a steep learning curve. And some days it's very enjoyable, and other days you think, what have I done? But yeah, we're in a good position at the moment.
So in terms of COVID, and since the outbreak, what have you had to do as a business to sort of maintain going forward? Do you furlough many staff?
Well, with the COVID, when that came along, what we did is we looked at our customer base, found out what customers were staying open, what customers were going to be closing, and that helped us identify which people we needed to furlough and which ones we needed to keep going to ensure our customers, the ones that were staying open, got product. And that worked very well for us and very well for the customers that were staying open. And during that period as well, Yeoman Pressings also got involved in manufacturing sub-assemblies that ended up going into the beds in the
hospitals,
in the Nightingale hospitals. So,
yeah.
And we've also picked up 2 customers involved in sanitizer stands. In fact, I've got another batch of 200 stands going through as we speak right now, and I think one set is being delivered tomorrow. So, yes, it's. We've had, there's been some negatives, but there's been a lot of positives as well as we've gone through COVID.
Now, I know you and your team work very hard. You've got quite a short lead time in terms of orders, so quite a short horizon. How do you cope and how do you keep the momentum?
Well, yeah, traditionally we are a subcontract manufacturer. So we don't really have our own products to sort of sell, so we don't have sort of a forecast on what we're doing, and what we rely on is our customers placing orders with us. And we have some customers where you've got a roughly an idea of what they're going to take on a monthly basis, but that is never guaranteed. You don't know that until the call off comes in. And then a big part of our customer base are customers who place spot orders. And when they come in, you get sort of 2-3 weeks maximum notice to turn it round. So our forward sight for what orders are coming is really always an unknown. But we have, we always manage to fill the order books. And I mean, this month alone, November, we have the budget we have in place. We are already firm orders on the books, 40,000 ahead of the budget for this month, so we're already full. So and I'm now looking at what orders I can get in for December. So fantastic. It's and what we do as well, because we are I mean, traditionally when it was the company was set up, it was predominantly traditional presswork, but in the last 15 years we have also diversified into CNC presswork. So we've got traditional presswork and modern CNC presswork, both under one roof, which potentially makes us unique compared to a lot of companies out there. And what can happen there is we can get your traditional orders where you've got your fixed tools. Those orders keep rolling in, and they're the ones that you've got an idea what's coming monthly. But then the sales that go through the CNC cell, we can get a lot of orders that it's a one-off for a couple of thousand parts. The order comes in, no tooling required. The key thing there is all about service and turnaround and getting the product made as fast as possible, which is something that is great for UK manufacturing, because it's not the sort of thing you can ship in from overseas. When somebody wants it in 2 weeks, you can't wait for it to be 6 weeks on the water. So,
and that's really where you and your team have started specialising that quick turnaround, satisfying the customer, and making sure that you get those repeat orders. So once you get a customer, it's all about service. Yeah.
These days, I think it is. We're like, you could say, yes, we're manufacturers, and the piece price is important, but I think the whole service factor that comes into manufacturing now is one of the key things, and I think that's why a lot of the UK manufacturers who are buying parts in from subcontractors like ourselves, they might be able to get it a few pence cheaper from overseas, but they can't control that supply chain so well, and I think they're actually looking back to more local supply chains where that gives them greater control to be able to ensure they get the product when they want it. I think the whole thing these days, it's what I call the Amazon effect, is that people go home, they order something, it's delivered the next day, and then they go into work the next day and they order something, and they've subconsciously, they're expecting that part to turn up next week. Whereupon we used to have sort of like 3 to 4 week lead times for this stuff. It's now been crushed because of what I call the Amazon effect, and that people in their mind, if they order it, they virtually expect it the next day. And in some cases, we've had customers where they have they've ordered a load of parts and then found out that they needed to get one bespoke part made as well. We've had the drawing in the morning, we've punched it, raised it, and delivered it the same day, which I believe is could be quite quicker than Amazon. So perhaps we're Amazon Plus.
It's fantastic. Well, that again is the way that you and your team are changing the business. You can't stand still at any point in time, can you?
Not at all, no. I mean, again, going back to the CNC equipment, in the last 5 years, we've probably invested about 1.3 million in new equipment. And I've also already got something else lined up to be coming in next year, which is obviously another major investment, but it is all about investing in equipment to keep us competitive and one step ahead of our competitors.
Brilliant, and I guess that's secret at this time, but you'll come back on a later episode and tell us when it's ready.
Absolutely, yes. I'm not going to say what it is at the moment, but yes, things are in, the plans are afoot. Okay,
and obviously it's been a very difficult year for us all. How do you see, in terms of order, we can move forward? I mean, there is a push now to buying British and manufacturing in this country, and I think we'll see more and more. What are your views for 2021?
Well, I think that COVID has raised people's eyebrows to think about their supply chains, and as I said earlier, about having greater control. So shortening the supply chain, which is also will also be impact the CO2 levels that are kicked out because of shipping stuff around the world. So I think the whole of the buy local, buy greener is going to be a positive effect for manufacturing in the UK. And I also think that once we get into the new year and all the talk of Brexit is finally put to one side, I think that may open up even further opportunities for UK manufacturing. I think that the sterling being weak, which is, I don't think, obviously it's not good for people in London and the banks and everything, but it's brilliant for manufacturing because it means that we are a good prospect for for people outside the UK to buy product from the UK at getting good prices, good deals. especially like, for America, the strength of the dollar at the moment, compared to what they would pay for a Range Rover 3 or 4 years ago, they can get one for a hell of a lot less at the moment. So I do think that there's great opportunities for the manufacturer in the UK because of what is going on.
Okay.
I think that the biggest problem we're going to have next year, when we're post-Brexit, is things like the demand on the manufacturing in the UK, I think, will become so great that our problem will be being able to cope with the amount of work that's going to be coming. But also there's the potential of sourcing materials from overseas, not so much manufactured parts, because we can make them in the UK, but it's the getting the raw materials in, such as, for us in press work will be the materials like sheet and steel and aluminium, where there aren't enough mills in this country making steel and aluminium as there were 10, 15 years ago. And I think that is going to be potentially a problem. And I think it's a flaw that the government should have looked at 10 or 15 years ago to make sure that some of these big companies stayed afloat or had the resources to invest and improve their facilities so they can become more competitive. So,
absolutely. It's one thing allowing car companies to be foreign owned, but when you've got the raw material, the steel mills, either closing or being foreign owned, then we haven't got any sort of strength to our economy. And that's what we're currently missing, but hopefully there'll be investment to come. So you don't see Brexit as a negative, you see it as a positive going forward into next year?
I do, yes. I think it's all about the UK becoming a manufacturer base again for the world. Yeah. Industry and manufacturing is what put Great in Great Britain 200 years ago through the Industrial Revolution, and it put us ahead of everybody in the world. And the Americans stole that mantle in the late 1890s and went on to become a great industrial country, manufacturing for the world. And now, of course, China is the biggest industrial country in the world. And look where it's put them in the last 15, 20 years. They've shot towards the top. So it says to me that where this country took a different direction back in the 80s to become a service country to the world, I think that was a mistake. We should have been doing service, but we should have been continuing with industry, because industry is what makes countries great. And I think if we get the manufacturing back in control in this country, we can put the great back into Great Britain. Fantastic.
On that note, Graham, thank you for your time. I mean, you've got my vote straight away. When you're ready to go into politics, I'll be voting for you. Absolutely great to talk to you, and great to hear that things are going well at Yeoman Pressings.
Thank you very much, Chris.
So that brings us to the end of another show. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to meeting more of our brilliant SME manufacturers next week. If you would like to get in touch with the show with a comment, a suggestion, or to appear on a future episode, please email us tv@mtd.media. So from me, Chris G @SDE, goodbye.